Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Tech with Hash. I'm Harshita Justi. I'm wearing a little bit of bling today because we are going to be talking about the richest people on planet Earth. The Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk, and Warren Buffett. Have you ever thought about tech leaders and wondered what goes on in your head? How do you perceive the world? How do you make your decisions? How did you get here? What decisions and choices did you make to bring you here and completely change the trajectory of your life? If you wondered things like this, you're on the same boat as me, and this video is for you. If you've guessed it already, we are going to be talking about mental models. Mental model is how people perceive the world. It's how they think about the world, the environment around them, and how they make decisions. Today, we'll try to get an insight into the heads of these billionaires, multi-billionaires, and try to understand the mental models that they use to perceive the world around them. For our first episode, we will be talking about Jeff Bezos, the man behind Amazon.com. He was the world's richest man for a really long time until Elon Musk kind of bumped him down on the list. But nevertheless, he is still a really rich man, and he made certain decisions in his life that brought him where he is right now. How did he make these decisions? What kind of mental model did he use to make these decisions? I have the answer for you. He uses a framework called regret minimization framework. That's his mental model. Think about the 90s. Jeff Bezos was working for a really nice company. He was in a very cushy, high-paying job. And one day he got this idea for Amazon.com. The internet was just starting out, and he was very interested in this idea of internet, and he wanted to get in on it. And he had this idea that he wanted to start an online bookstore. This was a very new idea for him at that time, but he was not shy about it. He told his boss, he told everybody around him, and it took him 48 hours of talking to people to figure out if he wanted to do Amazon.com or not. His boss liked the idea, and he asked Jeff Bezos to think it over, but most of the people around him did question, why do you want to leave this high-paying, cushy job and go do a startup when you have this level of security? And that made Jeff Bezos think a little bit. Was it really worth going down the path of a startup and Amazon.com while he had the security in life? And he mentions in multiple interviews and multiple appearances that he used this mental model called regret minimization framework to make that very decision. This framework starts with a very simple question. In X years, will I regret not doing this? It's a simple answer. It's a yes or no, and then you act accordingly. So the idea is to project yourself or propel yourself into the future. Think about this decision, look back on it when, say, you're 80 years old and you're looking back on this decision and you're thinking about, will I regret not having done this? If the answer is yes, then you should most definitely go ahead and try to do whatever needs to be done so that you don't have that regret later in life. So that's the whole idea. You want to minimize the regret that you have later in life. Jeff Bezos talks about how he applied this very simple question to a decision that he had to make at that point. We all know the answer to it. He did do Amazon.com, but this is kind of what went behind that thought process. He propelled himself into the future. He thought about himself when he was 80 years old, and he looked back at this decision, and he says it was very clear to him he would regret not having done Amazon.com, not having gotten in on the internet. He says that even if he did it, and if it did not go well, he would have been fine with it because this was an idea that he didn't want to regret not doing. And he was very passionate about his idea and about getting in on the internet, that this was something that even if it did not work, it would not give him any regret. About your environment, if you do not have that financial stability, if the timing is not right and you have some commitments, you don't necessarily need to go and do that right away. You could probably do it in 6 months when your position is a little bit better. So also be sure not to just use this to make impulsive decisions. For example, let's take Jeff Bezos, right? Like when he wanted to start Amazon.com, he had a really high paying job and he had a security, a deposit as a backup for him if Amazon.com did not do really well. Like he had a safety fund and a safety net that he could fall back on. For example, if he did not have that, he made that impulsive decision. He was like, okay, I'm going to start Amazon.com right now. I have $0 in my bank and we're going to figure this out. I don't think he would have been able to float Amazon.com for the first few years when it was not making as many profits. And we probably wouldn't even have Amazon, all of these Prime delivery and all of that. It is a very scary world, but that's another possibility, right? Like he thought about his backup. He was like, okay, if this doesn't work out for say 5 years, I have this much amount of money. I'm starting it off in my garage. So the cost of operations is not that, high. We're going to start this off and I will have the money to feed myself, my company, and any person that I'm employing. Like I'll be able to do that. So he had that backup, and the confidence from that backup also probably helped him to be more creative and think more about the company and not really get caught up in all of the ops cost of it. And that's why Amazon.com is what it is today. And he was able to expand it to more than just an online bookstore, to this like plethora of stuff it is today. The most beautiful part about frameworks like these and mental models like these is this can be taken just like right out of the box and used for our everyday life activities. Like think about it. Think about this simple question. Will I regret not having worked out today, this week, this year? Will I regret not having eaten healthy? Will I regret not spending a lot of time with my family, with my friends? Like these are simple questions and things that we do every day without really acknowledging the effect of it, that what it's going to have in the effect that it's going to have in our life. We just go about doing these things without a lot of thought. And this framework helps you take a step back, think about it, and act accordingly. So you want to minimize the amount of regret that you're feeling later in life. When you talk to people not when you, but generally when you look online or when you hear about regrets that people either in their 80s or in their 70s or even maybe in their 90s, when they talk about the biggest regrets that they have from their life is they regret working too hard. They regret not spending more time with their children, with their family, not going on and seeing the world, maybe holding some grudges, stuff like this, right? So this helps you look at life in like a bigger picture, and the problem is just like a tiny speck in it. And this will help you make the right decisions. Mental model is not going to work for everybody. There's different mental models for those reasons, but I feel like this mental model, it's really beautiful in a way where it helps you take a step back and think about your life as a whole, and if this will actually affect your life in a good way or will it affect it in a negative way. One of the direct products of this regret minimization framework is this YouTube channel. I decided to do this YouTube channel after I read one of these mental models, and I was like, hey, yes, I'm not saying that I am doing something similar to Jeff Bezos, but I just took whatever his teachings were and just learned a little bit of that. I'm not saying I'm Jeff Bezos by any means, but I'm just saying that I read this mental model and I was like, hey, I'm really passionate about these YouTube videos. I'm passionate about talking about tech. I'm passionate about talking about coding, mental models, like the tech industry as a whole. And I would definitely regret not going ahead and doing something like this, because say even if it fails and if it's like 1 subscriber or like 10 views compared to like 10,000 subscribers and 10,000 views, I would still get the same kind of happiness when I'm making those videos because they make me happy. And this has definitely helped me minimize the regret that I'll have regarding this whole issue later in my life. And I hope this framework and this video helps you think a little bit about what you want from your life. Think a little bit like billionaires of the world and how their mind and thought process works, and apply it to our everyday life and our everyday decisions. I hope this brings you a little closer to something that you're really passionate about. Thank you all for watching. Again, this is Tech with Hash. Please subscribe and like and comment below on what you thought about this video, and also stay tuned and subscribe, have your notifications on, because we will have another episode on this. On the next episode, we will be talking about Elon Musk and what he thinks about and what his mental model is.